Coming up today, we got TSM beating earnings, bringing stocks like Nvidia, AMD, and other chip stocks up. We're going to be talking about how to make plays on this. We got to talk about the chances of a potential market pullback. We're going to talk about Nvidia a little bit more, how big it is compared to other markets. It's doing better than staples overall and even the German stock market. And this is from last month. They're at $4 trillion now. Potentially hitting that $5 trillion market cap very, very soon, unless we do get a pullback like we're going to be talking about later. Crypto week is back into play with the bill finally passing through, but it still has some more things to get to. But we have a lot to talk about today, a lot to go over, and even some news that moved the market yesterday a big amount. A rumor that came out that might even still potentially be true. You guys don't want to miss out on this. Make sure you guys smash the like button, subscribe if you guys are new. Let's get to 500 subs and let's get started. So we see crypto bouncing up a decent amount, especially XRP. I wanted to mention this one because we finally broke that $3 level and now we're breaking it even more to $3.25. It is going parabolic. Ethereum as well broke past that 3,000. And honestly, man, we're at almost 3,500. Can we hit that today? Most likely. Bitcoin is kind of lagging behind all of those, but a lot of people like Ethereum a little bit more. And you know, you got those XRP gurus that love to make money. We also had a fat V-shaped recovery that hopefully a lot of people made money on, especially when they found out the rumors was fake. And we're going to be talking about that a little bit more, but let's get into crypto and then we can talk more about earnings, news, and then get you guys some supports and resistance and some plays for later on. But crypto week is rescued by Donald Trump. The House did pass the vote 215 to 211. Close, but it did pass. They still have to pass the actual act, so keep that in mind. This is some of the acts right here. More in these acts, one of them might be on traders' radar the most, and that is the Anti-CBDC Act. This one prohibits the Federal Reserve from issuing a central bank digital currency, citing concerns over financial surveillance. If passed, this bill would help protect Bitcoin's role as a decentralized alternative to government-issued digital money. Like I showed you guys before, crypto like XRP and Ethereum started making a comeback. And if you guys are trying to get into some stocks, you can look at ETHA, and that is basically an ETF that moves with Ethereum itself. And we are bouncing up a decent amount. You can make a decent amount of money on some call options. So I do recommend looking at this one. If you guys do want to trade Ethereum in the short term with some option plays, you can make a decent amount of money, especially if it starts falling and or starts rallying up even more. ETHA is one to look at. Speaking of Bitcoin, if we do start making a comeback with Bitcoin, which honestly isn't really looking too strong yet, but we might be able to break that 120 once again and go back up even more. Some stocks to watch, of course, is going to be MSTR. A lot of people look at MSTR. They have a big holdings in MSTR. $30 billion in net profit. The other one, of course, is going to be Coinbase, Robinhood. One of my favorites, IBIT, IBIT. I personally trade this one myself. Sometimes Bitcoin's not really looking too good, but honestly, if you guys do want to get in some Bitcoin trades, some, swing trades, I personally buy it like 2 to 3 weeks out, and it's about $250 for the strike price. And it's not even that bad, for in the money plays, $260, not really risking too much. And honestly, man, they normally go up a decent amount as well. IBIT is one to watch for this. If you want to up your trading knowledge and do it for cheap, I got cheap courses down below to help you guys become profitable with trading. First link in the description below. Check it out if you guys want. So I want to talk about TSM a little bit more. It is bringing stocks like Nvidia, AMD up and stuff like that. They beat their expectations 9% and then the revenue by 5%. Not really big beats like we've seen with the banks. They posted a record quarterly profit on AI demand, but cautious on the tariff impact like everybody else is. But looks pretty good, especially if you had a call option on TSM. I personally had a call option on Nvidia and it's personally hitting a decent amount. Not as much as, when we got that chip ban exported, I made like 500% off this play. But this one can also make you a decent amount of money. I think we're up like 100% so far. I bought it at the lows. And now, man, honestly, if you can stay up above here and you might even see a green candle at the start of the day. That's what we've been seeing recently, is just a green candle at the start of the day for some stocks, especially Apple. You've been seeing it green and then potentially falling down, selling off a decent amount and then potentially coming back if we do get good news. But we did get some bad news Wednesday, I think it was. Tuesday, we did get some bad news towards the end of the day and it made it red, but then we came back the next day. So maybe I'm looking at Apple to kind of get a little bit more green here. And then honestly, man, make me some money because I got some call options on Apple at the lows as well. But with that being said, man, let's talk more about the lows. So we had some rumors coming out. There's headlines coming out saying that Trump will fire Jerome and also rumors of him waving around a letter. But Donald Trump said he's not going to fire him, but kind of also said that he might be able to get him removed for fraud. There has been criticism on the $2.5 billion renovation on the historic federal headquarters. But honestly, with that being said, man, we had rumors that came out, and then sooner or later we found out they would become true. So I do want to say be careful while trading, because this might actually come out to be true. And honestly, as you guys seen how the markets moved, we sold off a decent amount, even in Nvidia. Nvidia was one that I was watching that I personally thought held up the strongest with this. So Nvidia is pretty safe, but it's not too safe, you know. But with that all being said, man, the markets dipped down a decent amount. We even seen the SPY come all the way down to that 618 level from this news. And if it does sooner or later come out to be actually true, you could probably see us retest that 618 and probably get down to like 615 to 610. So please be careful with this one, because it shows that the Fed is really not independent, and firing a Fed chair would not look good on the markets. Donald Trump even admitted that himself. But Trump did say he's highly unlikely to fire Fed Jerome, despite earlier reports suggesting he might have removed him soon. The speculation caused a brief drop in the stock market and the US dollar. Trump did express him losing patience and being a little bit mad over Jerome, over the interest rates and policies, and a costly Fed renovation project, but clarified he would only consider firing Jerome for serious cause, not policy disagreements. Also, legal experts say that removing the Fed chair without cause would damage the Fed's independence and market stability. So we do have Netflix earnings on deck, and honestly, everybody's watching to see the strength of it. We did just have Squid Games come out, and that brought them a bunch of money and bunch of market share. With that all being said, man, do you guys think Netflix will beat expectations or be below expectations? Comment that down below. With that all being said, United didn't really do too well. We did beat the earnings by 1.58%, but the revenue was down. But with that all being said, you do see the stock going to the downside. And I will recommend watching it fill the gaps back down, all the way down to that $81 to that $82 level for United Airlines. Another one as well, Delta Airlines, it is kind of falling down as well. I would watch that $55 level. If we break below that, look at that 53.5 and all the way down to like that $50 level for Delta Airlines. This one can also sell off just because of United Airlines can drag it down. And we kind of just been looking bearish in the short term as well. With that all being said, Netflix is on everybody's radar. So I do recommend waiting for that one, seeing how that one reacts. And we might have a sell-off and or a big upside, and the momentum might continue like we've seen in the past. It's crazy to think about it, man. It's already Thursday. That is insane. But yesterday we did have the PPI come out. The PPI came in okay, but the CPI ticked up a little bit more. That all being said, man, the data looked pretty good yesterday, bringing the markets up pre-market and even making the market have a little bit of a rally at the beginning. But today, Thursday, we do have initial jobless claims, U.S. retail sales, import price index, import price minus the fuel. We have a survey coming out. This one might move the markets, but you never know. But this is all an hour before stock market open, so keep that on your mind. Business inventories, home builder confidence, and we got some speeches. So keep this all on your radar for today while trading. The initial jobless claims might move the market a little bit, so keep 227 on your radar. If that beats, we might get a little bit of a green. So let's pull out some July data and show you guys why we might have a potential pullback. So today is the last day, and it looks like with history, it is the last day of being highs for the month until the end of the month. So with that being said, keep this on your mind while making your trades. Data can be different, especially with the markets we have right now and everything going on. So it can be different, but be prepared. So if you guys are an option trader, I will get my trades 3 to 4 weeks out and even a little bit longer to give you some more time, and just timing your trades right. You should still be good, but don't worry about it too much. With that all being said, man, if you could time your trades right, it is pretty decent. But with that all being said, man, 17th is the last day of, the highs of the month, basically with history. But with that being said, like I said, the markets are different right now. Everything can change. News can change. We can get some good news, but we can also get some bad news. So keep that in mind. With that being said, we did fall down a decent amount, losing some of the gains. But towards the end of the month, we are kind of green and breaking some new highs, basically, with the history. So if you do buy like 2 to 3 weeks out, you have potential of a play hitting. But all being said, even in like a bearish market, we can use Apple for an example. Apple's just been up and down. But with that all being said, if you can scope out the lows of the market, you could potentially still make money the next day. But unless, like, let's say you bought the low on this day, your play's not gonna hit this day, but the next day it will. So I would do recommend having your patience, timing your trades. Try to time the low, and if you can't get into the low, you might as well buy put option at the highs, because that can even work too. You can buy it both ways. You can buy it at the highs and or the lows. Because even if you bought it like up here, even at like 211.16, you can still sell it the next day at around 209. Or even if that news didn't even come out, you can still sell it at 210 and still make a little bit of money back and not have any losing trades. So just time your trades right and just have your patience with the market for the rest of the month. basically until the end of the month where we go back to those highs. Potentially, if the data is correct. I mean, of course, data changes, but with that being said, man, just keep that on your radar. Take it with a grain of salt. Other things, Volvo cars pause sales from some cars in the US as a tariff pinch profits. So Volvo is pausing their sales. You might see this on some other car makers. I know Ford's kind of eating a bullet right now as well. Coffee prices are soaring right now. Tariffs could drive them even higher. So if you guys are coffee drinkers, man, honestly, man, just if you guys enjoy coffee, just drink it at home, honestly, at this point, man. I mean, you're still going to be spending a little bit more, but not as much as like if you go to like Starbucks or something like that. Mark Zuckerberg has been putting a lot of money into AI recently. He is investing tens of billions in AI to create a personal superintelligent. Through Meta's new division, Superintelligent Labs, Meta plans to build massive data centers, one nearly the size of Manhattan, which is insane, and offering up to $300 million in lure top AI agent, top AI talent. This aggressive push comes after lukewarm reacts to Meta's current AI models and is part of a broader race against companies like OpenAI and Google. He's basically trying to beat them. We also had President Donald Trump pushing a little bit more for these tariffs, and he said Trump will send letters to over 150 countries announcing tariffs taking effect on August 1st. Smaller nations will receive a uniform tariff notice, likely a bit over 10%. I think he said 10 to 15% for smaller countries. Larger trading partners will get individualized letters, for example, 25% on Japan and South Korea and 30% on EU and Mexico. Indonesia's tariffs will be set to 19%, and India is close to a trade deal that could adjust its rate. The move aims to pressure nations into negotiating while targeting the $1.2 trillion US trade deficit and boosting domestic manufacturing. Financial markets are reacting to increased global trade uncertainty. So keep this on your mind. This can also shift the market as well. And August 1st is probably going to be big too. We might see a dip and or, Donald Trump might fold and we might see a big green. President Donald Trump claims he convinced Coca-Cola to switch from high fructose corn syrup to cane sugar in their US drinks. He's calling it just better. Coca-Cola didn't confirm the change, but acknowledged his support. The move, if it's true, would mark a big shift in the drink's formula, which has used corn syrup since the 1980s. But now let's get to some plays, some supports and resistance, and what to look at for the overall stock market. I personally like how AMD has been moving, like literally just been boosting up, moving way better than NVIDIA overall. I personally think that AMD still has some room to move to the upside, especially, man, I feel like it's been lagging behind a little bit. With that being said, we finally broke that 160 level that we were talking about in the last video. So next levels to watch is going to be that 165, 167.5, and that 170. Past that 170, look at 175 to that 180. AMD is moving pretty strong, but if we do have a little pullback, look at that 160, 158.5, 156, 155, and all the way down to that 150 level for AMD. Have your patience with this one because, I mean, this might be overdone and or we might still have some room to move to the upside. Next one is going to be Boeing. Honestly, man, we did have a clean move to the upside recently, but it is looking like it's kind of falling a little bit. So just see how it reacts. If you can break above that 235 to that 234 level, we can make it look a little bit more bullish. With that being said, if not, just have your patience doing some call options to the downside, 228.5, 227, 225, and that 220 level for Boeing overall. Next is going to be the SPY. SPY has been moving pretty decently, and if you guys are into day trading, this is a great one to look at, especially buying those dip buys, but you can even wait until it gets to its highs and then buy some put options as well. With that being said, to the upside, look at 625.5, 627.5, 628.5. You can break above that. Look at that 630 to that 635 level. To the downside, look at that 623, 621.5, 620, 618, and all the way down to that 615 level, especially if that news, that rumor comes out to be true. Next one, of course, is NVIDIA. TSM made it look pretty good. And honestly, man, we might have some green and then maybe some red later on. With that being said, look at that 173.5, 175, 176.5, and that 180 level. That is insane. We're already looking at the 180 level. NVIDIA's just been climbing up a decent amount and honestly breaking records that I didn't even think it could break. With that being said, to the downside, look at 172.5, 171.5, 170 flat, and then below that 170, look at 169, and then that 168 level to the downside for NVIDIA. Might have a little pullback today, but you never really know. Apple, man, Apple has been looking okay, but hasn't really been making a clear move. With that being said, man, look at that 212.5, 213, 214.5, and that 215 level. If you could finally, I've been saying that 215 level for like the past couple of weeks, honestly, it feels like. But past that 215, look at 216.5 and that 220 level next for Apple. I hope that we can get some news to make it break up even more. But honestly, man, this is just a patience play. With that being said, to the downside, look at that 210, 209.5, 209, 208.5, and that 205 level for Apple. Have your patience with this one. I'm going to say that all the time. Palantir is another one that's been moving pretty strong to the upside recently, and honestly, still been moving clean. Honestly, I was thinking about buying a dip buy on this one as well, but honestly, just wanted to have my patience on this one. With that being said, man, if we can hold above that 150, look at that 152.5, 155, 156.5, and then all the way up to that 160 level. To the downside, look at that 150, 149.5, 148, 147, and that 145 level flat for Palantir overall. Tesla, man, Tesla is like up and down, up and down. With that being said, we are still making some higher highs, looking a little bit more bullish in the short term. Yesterday, we didn't really look too good, but honestly, that run up yesterday made it look bullish overall. So look at that 325, 330, 335, 340. And then to the downside, look at that 320, 318.5, 315, and that 310 level to the downside for Tesla. Google, honestly, man, we've been having some good news, like people like renting out their data centers and stuff like that. And honestly, man, just been doing good overall with some good news. With that being said, we haven't really been moving up. We failed to break that 185.5 level. So that's one level that I'm looking at next. But with that being said, we are kind of falling down. So please look at this 182.5 level. And then if we break below this, we might be able to look a little bit more bearish in the short term. So look at that 181.5, 181, and that 180 level to the downside. To the upside, look at that 183.5, 184.5, and that 185 level. And then past that, look at that 185.5. You can break that. We can look a little bit more bullish with Google overall. With that all being said, man, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Smash the like button, subscribe if you guys are new. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. Let's get to 500 subs. We're so close. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.